One thing that's helpful, what I just did, is to flip the ball claw around and look at it from the bottom and kind of envision those two faces from a soup can coming together underneath the talon. If they're not coming together in the same surface so that it looks like a continuous soup can, go back and refine it now and get it to be right now, because it'll just save you headache later on. So let's see if I can show you this. So basically I'm saying envision this surface meeting this surface underneath the talon. And if those two surfaces don't look like they're meeting right, in other words, if one looks like it's coming underneath the other one, so this one wants to come up here and this one looks like it's diving below, take care of that now. As long as you carve to the line, as long as you carve right to the outside of that breakpoint line, you should be fine. As you clamp and unclamp these legs, the lines tend to fade away, and so it's awfully easy not to carve to them. And I'm kind of running into that a little bit here, so just refine it now. Okay. Two nice faces. I'm maybe off a little bit on one, but so there's my two faces of the soup can. I just have to repeat that now for these two sides. With that, our soup can is done. Now you can see why it's called a soup can, because it literally just looks like a cylinder. And it's been carved to the line, to the outer breakpoint diameter line all the way around. One thing that's helpful again is to sight right down the leg and spin the leg looking at the various faces to make sure that they all come together to form a continuous can, and at this point they do. So our next item of business is to form the ball. And we're going to basically carve from the breakpoint, from this 1-inch line around here, down to our inner diameter, and then also we're going to round from the breakpoint to the tops that we cut in on both the front and the back. So this goes pretty fast and is, I think, one of the funnest parts of the whole project. I have to refocus the camera a little bit to go through this, but bear with me. So this is our center, our break, where the break point and the center of the ball intersect. We don't really want to touch that point, but similarly now, this break point, we've leveled that, and we're not going to hit that anymore. So it's helpful to draw in. Just use your finger as a fence. It's helpful to draw in that break point again. And then go ahead and start carving. What we're going to do, we're going to carve right down to that diameter at the floor line, and we want a continuously rounded surface from the breakpoint line down to that line. You could use a bench chisel, or a big number 2 works oftentimes as well. I actually like using a number 2. I'm using a bench chisel here, but there we go. I'm going to switch to a number 2. It's a number 212. Careful not to undercut the talon. Same story as before, but it's awfully easy to do and hard to recover from. Oftentimes a shearing cut works better, so it kind of come across the grain. There's one school of thought that tries to get these gouge marks to be, not even require sanding, to get them to be so nice that they're basically ready to go right off the gouge. I think that's admirable to do it that way. I tend not to take the time necessary to do that. I think a file, we're going to clean these up at the end, and I think a file works just really nice to remove whatever level of gouge marks that you want removed. I'm not going to worry about every last detail on this. It's hard to see, but towards the end we're going to start visualizing this thing as we look down the leg, just like we did with the soup can. And then you'll see all the little warts that need to be removed stand out at that time. So I'm just going to get the basic shape in now. I'll turn around and give it a quick spin so you can see what it looks like, but hard to get this all on the camera, but yeah, you start seeing the bottom of the ball. I'm just going to take a quick look at it. And again, what I'm really looking at is these major lobes. I want to make sure these major lobes are coming together underneath the talon in a continuous fashion. And they look okay. Same process, but not as much material now to remove. I'm basically now just carving down to the relief that we made earlier. Especially on these side walls, there's actually very little material to remove. And most of this can be done with a real shearing motion, coming across the ball.